What if the reason you, I don't know, didn't get that promotion, or the reason you and your partner keep having the exact same argument on a Tuesday night has absolutely nothing to do with how hard you're trying?
Right, or how much force you're applying.
Exactly. What if it actually has everything to do with a metaphysical waiting room?
I mean, it completely flips the script on how we are taught to solve problems, We're conditioned to believe that applying more force is the only way.
Right, like having one more really difficult conversation.
Yeah, or working an extra 10 hours to fix a broken situation. But the sources we're looking at today suggest that that very force is exactly the reason things stay broken.
So we are doing a deep dive today into a massive stack of materials surrounding Esther and Jerry Hicks's incredibly popular book, The Vortex.
And we are not just looking at the book itself, right?
No, not at all. We are pulling from detailed breakdowns of the Abraham Hicks manifestation process and deep dives into the mechanics of the self-help industry, which is a $41.8 billion industry, by the way.
That is a staggering number.
It really is. And my personal favorite source today, we've got real-life applications and intense debates from Reddit users.
Oh, the Reddit threads are fascinating.
They really are, because these are just regular people trying to apply these high-level concepts to their messy, everyday lives.
Right.
So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out what this vortex actually is, how it redefines our approach to romantic, family, and work relationships, and to pull out some practical daily routines so you can stay emotionally aligned.
And I want to note that we are going to look at this impartially.
Right.
Because the claims made in these teachings are, well, they're highly metaphysical.
Definitely.
And for many, deeply controversial.
Right.
But whether you view this as literal cosmic truth or simply as an interesting psychological framework, there's massive value here.
Yeah, you have to wonder why millions of people swear by these methods for fixing their relationship.
Exactly. There's something in the psychology of it that clearly resonates.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we can start using these principles to fix our lives, we have to understand the foundation. And the origin story here is, frankly, wild.
It really is unique.
We're talking about Esther Hicks, a woman originally from Utah, and her late husband, Jerry.
And Jerry was a former circus acrobat, right?
Yes, an acrobat and a touring musician before he became a successful businessman. So together, they built this massive self-help empire. But the core of their teaching isn't presented as their own wisdom.
Right. This is where the controversy usually starts.
Yeah. Esther claims she channels a non-physical collective consciousness that she calls Abraham.
Which is, the immediate friction point for a lot of people.
Yeah.
The channeling debate is totally central to the history of this whole empire.
Skeptics have a field day with it.
Oh, absolutely. Skeptics point out that this is a massive commercial enterprise. I mean, they run these huge cruises. Their workshops can cost hundreds of dollars a ticket.
$225 usually.
Right. And they are a massive pillar of that $41.8 billion personal development industry we mentioned. Selling hope and prosperity is a deeply lucrative business model.
And there was some drama with The Secret, wasn't there?
Yes, they had a very public falling out with Rhonda Byrne, the creator of the cultural phenomenon The Secret. It was over royalties and ideological differences.
Wow.
They even attempted to copyright the term law of attraction.
Wait, really? Did they get it?
No, the U.S. Patent Office rejected it because the phrase actually dates way back to a New Thought author named William Walker Atkinson in 1906.
Wait, slow down for a second before we get into the business side of things. When you say Esther channels this entity, what does that actually look like?
How do you mean?
Well, my mind immediately goes to, like, Hollywood horror movies or some kind of theatrical seance. Are we talking about a trance state here? Does her voice change? For someone who is totally new to this, how is the message actually delivered?
Well, let's be real. It is much less theatrical than a movie, but it is a very distinct shift. In their workshops, Esther will sit in a chair on stage, close her eyes, and just take a few deep breaths.
Okay.
When she opens her eyes, her posture is totally different. Her voice lowers slightly in register. Her cadence becomes much more rhythmic and authoritative.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and she speaks incredibly fast, without pausing or using filler words. And she actually refers to herself, meaning Esther, in the third person.
That is wild.
It is. But whether you view it as genuine communication with a non-physical intelligence or just an expression of Esther's own subconscious wisdom, the delivery is undeniably compelling.
People are clearly hooked.
Absolutely. The people in those audiences aren't just there for a show. They are bringing their deepest traumas and struggles to the microphone, looking for answers.
Which brings us to the core concept they are selling to those audiences. The Vortex.
Right, the namesake of the book?
Yeah. And to make this accessible for you listening, think of the vortex not as a physical location you pack a bag and travel to. Think of it more as a radio frequency.
That's a great analogy.
It is this energetic version of your life where every preference you've ever launched, every desire you've ever had, the healthy relationship, the financial security, the peace of mind, it's all harmonized and already exists on that frequency.
What's fascinating here is how they define the barrier between you and those desires.
Yeah, because if all my desires are just sitting in this cosmic waiting room, why aren't they walking through the door into my actual life?
Exactly. And the teachings emphasize this core concept of alignment versus resistance. According to Abraham, creation is already finished.
Finished, like done.
Done. The universe responds instantly to your request. The only reason we don't have what we want is our own internal resistance.
You know, when I hear the word resistance, my mind goes straight to procrastination. Like, I am resisting going to the gym, or I am resisting having a tough conversation with my boss.
Sure, physical action resistant.
Right. But based on the sources, they're talking about something much more internal, aren't they? It's not really about action, it's about emotion.
It is entirely about emotion. Resistance, in this framework, is the feeling of needing, forcing, worrying, and obsessing over the fact that you don't have the thing you want yet.
Ah, so the worrying itself is the block.
Yes, wanting a better relationship is natural and productive. But needing your partner to change so that you can feel safe, well, that introduces immense tension. It pinches off the flow.
So the goal isn't to put more effort into changing the external world.
No, not at all. The goal is to soften your internal resistance so that you can tune your personal radio dial to match the frequency of the vortex.
So how do we actually tune our dials? Because the book talks about this built-in system we all supposedly have called the emotional guidance scale.
Right, and this is where the metaphysical philosophy really grounds itself in daily psychology.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah. The emotional guidance scale suggests that your emotions are not a grade on how well you're doing at life. They are simply navigational instruments.
It's like a GPS.
Exactly like a GPS. The scale ranges from the lowest frequencies, despair, fear, and powerlessness, all the way up to the highest frequencies, which are empowerment, freedom, and joy.
And navigating this scale relies on a concept called contrast, which I have to say might be my favorite idea in the whole book.
Contrast is a huge paradigm shift.
It really is. Contrast is basically experiencing what you do not want. The bad date, the bounce check, the argument where your partner completely misunderstands you.
Usually we view those moments as total failures. We think, oh man, I did something wrong to attract that.
Right, we blame ourselves. But these teachings reframe contrast as essential, unavoidable data. It is the exact moment a new desire is born. You cannot possibly know the specific shape of what you want without first experiencing what you absolutely do not want.
Contrast sharpens your clarity. I mean, you survive a micromanaging boss, and suddenly your desire for autonomy is crystal clear.
Exactly. And this mechanism ties directly into their 5-step process for manifestation. Let's break those down because the mechanism behind them is so crucial.
Sure. Step 1 is ask.
And from what I gather, you don't even have to use words for this. You ask automatically just by experiencing contrast. The moment you hate your commute, you have essentially asked for an easier one.
Yes, it's an energetic asking. Then step 2 is source answers.
Okay, tell me about that.
In their framework, the non-physical universe immediately gathers the cooperative components to fulfill that request. It happens instantly in the vortex, requiring zero effort from you.
Hold on, I struggle with step 2. Source answers instantly. How does the universe answer instantly when I clearly do not have the money or the healthy relationship sitting right in front of me? How is that an answer?
Well, it requires separating vibrational reality from physical reality. Think of it like placing an order online. The moment you click purchase, the item is yours.
Okay.
The warehouse receives the order, the logistics system activates, and the package is on its way. The request has been answered. You don't have the physical box in your hands yet, but the creation is complete.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Your only job now is to make sure you are home to receive the package.
Which perfectly sets up step 3, align. This is supposedly our only actual job. Tuning our emotional frequency to match the desire so we can, receive the package.
Exactly. And then step 4 is receive, which is where inspired action happens.
And step 5 is expand, meaning you inevitably run into new contrast, a new problem, and the loop just continues. I actually love step 5 because it means encountering a new problem isn't a failure. It's just the next level of the video game.
It totally normalizes struggle as a mechanism for growth.
But wait, I have a massive problem with step 3. Here's where it gets really interesting and honestly a bit dangerous.
The alignment step.
Yeah. If aligning just means tuning your emotional frequency to feel good, we hit the wall of toxic positivity. If someone listening has just lost their job or is dealing with a serious medical diagnosis or is clinical depression, telling them to just align your frequency and think happy thoughts borders on offensive,
Oh, absolutely.
doesn't this framework completely dismiss real trauma?
That is a highly valid critique. And it is a major reason why psychological professionals often warn against simplified versions of a law of attraction.
Right.
If someone tells you to just be grateful when you are grieving, it causes real psychological harm. But looking closely at the actual Abraham Hicks material, they explicitly argue against jumping from despair to bliss.
Oh, they do.
Yes, they state clearly that you cannot leap from fear directly to joy. The vibrational gap is simply too wide, and trying to force it creates massive resistance.
So what are you supposed to do if you are at the absolute bottom of that emotional scale?
You climb the ladder one rung at a time. If you're experiencing profound despair, you do not aim for joy, you aim for anger.
Anger.
Yeah, anger actually has more energy and momentum than total powerlessness. It gets you moving. And then from anger, you aim for frustration. Frustration feels slightly lighter than blind rage.
Okay.
From frustration, you aim for neutral or overwhelmed. From neutral, you aim for curious. From curious, you aim for hopeful.
That makes so much more sense.
Right, the goal is never to fake excitement. The goal is simply to find a thought that feels slightly better than the one you are currently holding and offers you a tangible sense of emotional relief.
Relief. That is a massive distinction. It's not about plastering a fake smile on your face while your life falls apart. It's about letting the pressure out of the tire just 10% at a time.
Exactly. Finding relief is the real work.
Okay, so we understand how to tune our own individual emotional dial. What happens when we bring a second radio into the room? Because this brings us to the core thesis of the Vortex regarding human connections, which is why most people pick up this book in the first place.
Well, the ultimate rule presented here regarding relationships is deceptively simple, yet incredibly difficult to practice in real life.
Lay it on me.
Your happiness should never depend on the behavior of others.
Oof. Easier said than done. But there is a quote from the Reddit threads we analyzed that perfectly captures this. A user posted this breakdown of Abraham's philosophy, saying, "The basis of a really good relationship is two people who are already feeling very good about who they individually are. Then when they come together, they are a couple who feels good."
It shifts the entire paradigm of modern relationship advice. When we are outside the vortex, when our own emotional dial is tuned to fear, insecurity, or lack of deficiencies, we instinctively try to control our partners or our family members so that we can feel better.
Right. We operate under the illusion that if you just change your behavior, I will finally be happy.
Exactly.
Instead of a magnet analogy, I think of it like a thermostat. It's like setting your internal emotional thermostat to read the temperature of your partner's mood.
That's a really good way to picture it.
Yeah, if they come home running hot with anger from work, your internal AC violently kicks into overdrive to try and fix their temperature. You're exhausting your own system trying to regulate theirs. Like, if you just text me back faster, I won't feel anxious.
That thermostat analogy perfectly describes what they call conditional alignment. I will feel good if the conditions around me behave a certain way.
Which is exhausting.
It is. And the book argues that this is a trap because you cannot control others, and attempting to do so introduces immense resistance into the relationship. The goal is unconditional alignment, maintaining your own emotional set point, keeping your own thermostat steady at 70 degrees, regardless of the chaotic weather happening outside.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the law of attraction dictates that like attracts like. The sources claim that when you enter the vortex on your own, when you find that relief and align your own emotions unconditionally, the universe automatically assembles cooperative relationships around you.
The people who match your frequency are drawn to you.
Right. And the interactions with the people already in your life smooth out. You stop grinding your gears to force a connection and you start gliding.
You stop grinding and start gliding. But, that raises an essential dilemma for most people.
Right, because if I'm not allowed to ask my partner to change, and my only job is to manage my own emotional thermostat, my instinct is that I'm just supposed to give up. Do I just become a doormat?
That is the most common fear with this teaching.
Like, if there's an actual structural issue at work or a recurring fight with a spouse, how does anything actually get resolved in the physical world?
Well, this is where they introduce the art of allowing. Allowing is very frequently misinterpreted as being passive as though you were just surrendering to a miserable situation and doing nothing.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
But in this framework, allowing is the most creative, powerful stance you can take. It means actively softening your white-knuckled grip on the narrative of what is wrong.
And our sources draw a really sharp line here between inspired action and forced action. Action absolutely matters, but it matters most when it's taken from inside the vortex.
Exactly.
The phrase that kept popping up in the materials was, 10 aligned minutes eclipse 10 scattered hours.
Think about the physical sensation of those two types of action. Forced action carries a heavy urgency. It is driven by fear. Your chest is tight, your thoughts are racing, and you feel a desperate need to confront your partner or fix a work problem right now to alleviate your anxiety.
Been there.
We all have. Inspired action, on the other hand, arises after alignment. You feel eagerness, lightness, and clarity.
But how do you tell the difference in the messy reality of a Tuesday afternoon? How do I know if I'm taking true inspired action or if I'm just avoiding a hard conversation because it doesn't feel good and calling it spiritual alignment?
The test is in the momentum. You don't take action to get happy, you get happy, and the action naturally follows. If you are avoiding a conversation out of fear, you are still outside the vortex. Your emotional frequency is still attuned to anxiety.
Ah, so the avoidance itself is a sign of resistance.
Exactly. When you do the work to genuinely find relief first, the physical evidence of that alignment starts showing up. You don't have to force the hard conversation. A natural window opens up over coffee where the tension is gone, synchronicities appear, the timing of everything just feels cooperative.
You aren't forcing the puzzle pieces together with a hammer, they just drop into place.
Precisely.
Okay, the theory of the vortex sounds beautiful. Soften resistance, manage your own thermostat, find relief, and let relationships assemble cooperatively. But let's bring this down to the pavement.
Let's do it.
It's a random Tuesday. Your boss is micromanaging you, your partner forgot to pay the electric bill, and the kids are screaming in the background. How do you actually get into the vortex when your physical reality is actively on fire?
Well, the sources provide very specific, actionable daily habits to intercept that downward momentum. The first tool is called segment intending.
How does that work?
Human life doesn't happen all at once, it happens in segments. Waking up is a segment, a commute is a segment, walking into a meeting is a segment, making dinner is a segment.
Okay, that makes sense.
The practice is deliberately pausing for 10 seconds right before a new segment begins to decide how you want to feel.
So before you open your laptop for a Zoom call, you pause and say, for the next hour, I intend to feel clarity and ease. I intend for communication to flow. You set the tone before the momentum of the situation sweeps you away.
Precisely.
Hmm.
You become proactive with your frequency rather than reactive to your environment. The second, more intensive tool is the 2-minute reset.
Oh, let's walk through this one vividly because I think this is the most practical tool in the entire stack.
Okay, paint the picture.
Picture this. You've just pulled into your driveway after a terrible day at work. You can literally hear your kids screaming from inside the house, and you know the kitchen is a total mess. Your chest tightens. What do?
You do not get out of the car yet.
Really just sit there?
You stay in the driver's seat. First, you honestly name the feeling. You don't suppress it. You say, I am overwhelmed and angry.
Validating where you are on the scale.
Right. Then you regulate your nervous system. You breathe using the 4-4-8 method.
Yeah.
Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for a slow 8. Physiologically, this slows your heart rate.
Okay, I'm breathing. Then what?
Then you soften the story you are telling yourself. Instead of, my life is a disaster, you say, it makes sense that I am stressed. It is okay to be exactly where I am right now.
Releasing that resistance.
Exactly. And finally, you reach for that slightly better feeling thought. I am glad to be home. I am glad my car got me here safely.
Which perfectly transitions into the final tool, the appreciation rampage. Our sources describe appreciation as the strongest vibration you can possibly hold.
It acts like absolute rocket fuel for alignment.
Instantly dissolving resistance. And it doesn't have to be massive, profound gratitude for your existence, right?
Not at all. It is spending 60 to 90 seconds listing highly specific, small things in your current environment that feel easy.
Like, I appreciate the feeling of this leather steering wheel. I appreciate that the air conditioning in this car works. I appreciate the quiet of this driveway.
This raises an important question about how we view effort and control. The psychological brilliance of the appreciation rampage is that it forcefully hijacks your brain's default mode network, which is wired to scan for threats and problems.
It interrupts the doom loop.
Exactly. You don't have to believe in channeling or non-physical entities to see the profound benefit here. Shifting your focus from catastrophic controlling thoughts to balanced appreciative ones lowers your cortisol. It reduces your stress response. It fundamentally makes you a better, more patient partner and professional.
So, what does this all mean for you listening right now? It's about personal responsibility. Manifestation and healthy relationships are not about white knuckling your way to happiness. They aren't about manipulating your partner, your boss, or the universe into behaving exactly how you want them to so you can feel secure.
No, it's an inside job.
It's about taking total, absolute responsibility for your own emotional GPS. It's about reducing your own internal resistance, tending to your own thermostat, and letting two whole, independently happy people meet in the middle.
It is a remarkably grounded goal, regardless of the metaphysical wrapping paper it comes in. When you release the need to orchestrate everyone else's behavior, the amount of energy you get back is staggering.
We want to leave you with a practical daily routine pulled straight from the sources to help you stay in the vortex. Tomorrow morning, before you even look at your phone, try this exact sequence.
Write this down.
Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Actively soften your physical body, drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw. State 3 highly specific things you appreciate right in that moment. And tell yourself, today, I choose ease. I don't need to figure anything out right now. I am open to being guided.
It sets a completely different trajectory for your day. I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your week. We spend so much of our lives desperately trying to avoid contrast. We run from the arguments, the rejections, the financial stress.
We think they're red flags that we are failing at life.
Exactly. But if contrast is the exact necessary mechanism the universe uses to birth your new, deeper desires, what if your biggest current relationship conflict isn't a failure at all? What if it is actually the secret blueprint for the most profound love you're about to experience?
You'll have to get into the vortex to find out. Catch you on the next deep dive.